So you'll have to cut the beginning.
I can taste your word. I can taste your.
Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. I'm Brandy, plant-based chef.
And I'm Vonanise, plant-based adjacent.
On this podcast, we explore thought-provoking conversations around food
and simple ways to stay healthy in this crazy world.
Hey guys, we are back with another edition of our Explained series on the Easy Answer podcast. Now, what is Explained? Explained is this series that you can find on Netflix, and also it is a partnership with Vox, right? Now, we first did our Explained series and we did the future of meat, and today we're going to be doing Explained sugar. Now, Vaughn, tell us about your love of this series and your love for sugar as well.
Okay, I love Explained. I watch it and I'm like mesmerized because, of course, they always give you the history of something. So they have to tell you, human beings, how sugar has helped us from when we were Neanderthals, and about how when we were able to figure out how to pull sugar from cane, how that made us better as society. But in the beginning, it was only available to noble people, kings and queens, because that's how you showed how rich you were, because you could get sugar and none of us could get it. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's only been in the last, they said like 200 years that it's available to all of us, and we really think about it, that's really not that long.
No, it's really not. It's really not that long. I mean, if you think about food science in general, like food science is not, it's like a little over half of a century old. So like it's really new. So that's why a lot of times people be like, you hear something and it's just like, oh, is this healthy? If this not, one day they say eat eggs, one day they say don't eat eggs, one day they say sugar free, one day they say fat free. It's really because it's really new. So if you think about it like that, it's very, very, very new. But what's interesting is that even though it's new, sugar has shown up in everything. Everything. And we want to share a clip with you that talks about the different names that sugar actually has when you go to the store from Explain.
Within a decade, aspartame had replaced over 1 billion pounds of sugar in foods and drinks in the US. But artificial sweeteners weren't replacing sugar in our diet. They were largely an excuse to eat more of it. And we'd figured out even cheaper ways to make it, like out of corn. Sugar is now added to 3/4 of packaged foods in the US, going by more than 60 different names.
Dextrose, fructose, sucrose, high fructose corn syrup. Anything that ends with ose is a form of sugar.
Or one of my favorite euphemisms for sugar, evaporated cane juice.
There was no chance artificial sweeteners were going to replace sugar in all these foods.
I think anybody who has tried an artificial sweetener knows that we're not really fooled by them. They don't taste exactly like sugar.
No, I don't like the way that fake sugar, leaves like taste in your mouth.
How bad is it?
Sweet and chemically.
Like super sweet that your mouth can't really handle it?
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
I mean, and I remember, I have spoken plenty ad nauseum to everyone here about my sugar palate and trying to bring it down because diabetes runs in both sides of my family. And I remember you telling me about cinnamon and lemon and how that plays in your body, and then they brought up the point about an apple. Like there was an advertisement and the advertisement said, it was like back in the 50s and 60s when they really had no responsibility for the things that came out of the advertisement, right? So the advertisement said 3 tablespoons of sugar is healthier than an apple. So look at Brandy. She's about to go ham. Everyone watch.
About to go ham. Listen. Sugar without the fiber does not count. Hence the reason that claim can't possibly be real. I mean, also, you can't just extract sugar from the apple and think that you're going to get all of the other nutrients in the apple. And if you want to go in depth about apples, we have an apple episode where we go deep into into apples. So be sure to check that episode out.
But you did teach me how to read. Well, she didn't really teach. Like she mentioned, read the labels. Like you like the when we were talking about what were we talking about? Candy, and Antonio was just like, Brandy reads this. She's just like sugar, sugar, sugar. And when they mentioned that 3/4 of food have sugars in it, that's so much. That's the majority of food has sugar in it.
It is, and it's so funny. This past summer, I did a 60-day sugar free, and it was amazing. The things that ended up like, I'm an avid label reader. It's just something that I do. But then when I challenge myself not to have sugar, it's like I have to read labels again. I'm reading them differently now because it's not. I don't have a lot of I don't add a lot of sugar to my food, but when I go out and buy stuff, I might not be as like if I see real sugar, I don't care. Like I just don't want fake sugar, so I'll just keep going. But when I was doing a challenge, it was nuts to see.
Remember we went to that restaurant and it was in like Tabasco sauce or something crazy.
Yeah, it was something nuts. You're like, why is sugar here? Yeah, so it's really fascinating to show like how sugar shows up in foods. And the next clip that we're gonna show is because sugar shows up so much and people are becoming hype to sugar, how companies are looking for these alternatives. But
and they've been looking for these alternatives for a while. But before we get to that, I just wanted to talk about when I saw the episode and they had the list, like it was a never ending list that kept going about sugar. It just made me think like, why is that okay that they have? Well, why can't they just put sugar? Like, why do I have to decode stuff? Like, why is that okay? Why is that okay?
It's not okay, but we've come to this we talked about this before. It's like the commercialization of commodities, right? Of like the things that the basics, the things that we need to live, i.e. food.
Yeah, so I have to take out my decoder ring.
Literally.
So that I can
know, like
insane.
Yeah. And it's crazy. People don't just say what it is because they're trying to market it. And if sugar is bad, like the lady in the last clip said, we call it evaporated cane juice. And someone goes, oh my God, like that's not high fructose corn syrup. It must be good. It's not sugar, so it must be good because it's cane. Cane is natural.
Yes, and they even talked about when people attacked high fructose corn syrup, and it was just like it's essentially the same.
You remember that campaign that came out to? It was nuts.
You know,
really?
Yes, but then I mean, it was just very interesting because I think that a lot of this, whenever we watch this, it's like you say, it's the item, and then it's the marketing of the item. That's really the evil.
It is.
It's the marketing of food. All right.
Yeah. Why can't it just be an apple? Why can't we just take apples off of a tree? No, we got to take apples off of a tree. We got to get them from another part of the country, even though they grow up the street. We got to put wax on them so that they shiny. We got to throw away the ones that got little dents on them. It's just like, I don't understand. So we took something natural, we put wax on it, and then we gave it. You did more work to get me this apple than you.
And if I wanted the organic apple, it will cost me more money.
For you to do less work, it's gonna cost me more.
Yes.
Marketing, because guess what? Organic is what? It's better for us. But also to the organic people's defense, that USDA organic label costs money, so they got to pay that back. They got to make that investment back.
So now, Brandy, we're going to roll the clips about,
the different types
of ways that they're marketing artificial sugar.
Yes.
A big part of how sugar tastes is time. The time it takes for the sweetness to peak after you take a bite, how long it lingers, and how fast it declines. It's called temporal sweetness profile. This is how it looks for sugar. It peaks really fast and disappears really fast. And this is how it looks for sucralose. The sweet taste comes on slower and takes its sweet time leaving. Aspartame hits even later and loiters even longer. The difference is fractions of a second, but for our taste buds, that's an eternity. And sugar is about more than just sweetness. It makes icing glisten and cakes moist and fluffy.
If you take all the sugar out of a cake, the cake would come out like a pita bread. So the challenges are huge.
The one sweetener that has worked for me in many of the recipes is stevia.
Stevia is a natural, calorie-free sweetener. It comes from a South American plant, and it can make a decent pudding. But the sweetness comes on even later than artificial sweeteners, and overstays its welcome, revealing itself as fake. There is one sweetener that tastes uncannily like sugar, just a little less intense. Allulose, the rising star of sugar substitutes. Technically, it's a sugar, a rare kind found in tiny amounts in foods like figs and raisins. But it doesn't act like sugar in our bodies. We can't fully break it down, which makes it nearly calorie-free. It performs well in the kitchen, and early studies suggest it's safe. But only a few producers make it. Most countries haven't approved it yet. And it's priced like gourmet health food.
$17.99 a pound. How insane is that?
Especially when Brandy already told us just throw a date in your brownies. All right.
Yes, eat a raisin. Have some. What is it? Well, use some pineapple juice to put on what you're making.
It's funny because I am not a person who grew up with dates, eating dates, but then once I started to replace sugar in, baked items, I would just put a date in it, or 2 dates, and it really does work.
It's such a sweet fruit. Like dates are so sweet. Yeah. And
Yeah,
the beauty of the sweetness from dates, is that it's attached to the fiber.
It's like they said, yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's not that many calories. But then another thing with the dates is that I felt like it did make it. They said, remember they were saying how sugar makes things shiny and glistening, and the date paste, it does make it. It's still, you can achieve that with it. And when they said that thing about if you take the sugar out of it, it'll be like, like a pita bread. I was like, I have had those pita sugar things at bread house. They tasted good, but they look weird.
Yeah, it's a science, It's like when I was coming up with the recipe for my ice cream, and I was trying to find the lowest amount of sugar to achieve the scientific requirement to the cream for the cream factor. It's fascinating how it's cooking, especially baking and those types of I guess you call it an emulsification. You need sugar, so it is really about finding that line, right?
Definitely. And I mean, baking soda, baking powder, all of that. If you put too much of one, then people get too much acid reflux. You know what I mean? And so once you start baking, I bake as well. You start to realize how you can play with it. But I think that for me, when I bake now, and I'm conscientious of what I put into my system, it's easier once you add the flour. It's harder with sugar. However, if you make pies and you're using fruit, because fruit is already sweet,
that's the key.
Hands down. We even talked about sweet potatoes, and the holidays are coming up, and in my family, I'm Black, you Black, we make sweet potato pie. Yeah. Right? And so we worked on sweet potato pie that didn't have dairy in it. I have never been a fan of candy yams. I'm just like, why am I just never understood why there was marshmallows on this thing it was just weird.
Yeah. See, I don't even remember. We didn't grow up with marshmallows on it. Yeah, that was something somebody went somewhere and then brought it back one year, and we were all like, why is this here? It's a marshmallow. Is this a dessert or is this a meal? Is this part of the meal?
It's so sweet. Marshmallows on yams. Sweet,
but you already put sugar on.
That's already sweet. It's too much. What are we doing? We're killing ourselves.
I don't know. And for me, I know You were showing me like you don't even really like sweet potato because it's just like too much, like candy yams, so to say, because it's just
I
too.
don't like candy yams. They're just like straight up sweet potato.
Yeah, you just like sweet potatoes. See, for me, I feel like candy yams are part of a bite. Like, and when I say part of a bite, it's like I can't just eat a plate of candy yams, but I can take a little candy yam with a little stuffing, with a little bit of collard greens, with a little bit of sauerkraut, and you get like this sweet, savory, sour bite.
You got sauerkraut at your Thanksgiving. You black?
We had sauerkraut. We used to put smoked turkey neck in there. We don't do that no more. But
those urban black people, right?
And that's what I used to love the bite. That's my favorite part of Thanksgiving, and just like all of the bites. But just eating a plate of candied yams, that's not that nothing about that sounds exciting.
And that's what I think. Like, I think that as African Americans, we know how to take things and be like so extra with it. So we already took something that was already sweet, and then we added sugar on it, and then on top of that, we had to have marshmallows. That's like a lot on a lot on a lot.
I really want to know where the marshmallows came from, because that was not part of our family tradition. Somebody, I can't remember who, went somewhere and thought this was a good idea one year for Thanksgiving, and I was just like, why?
No, but that was, I'm not going to say it's not a part of ours. It was a part of it, but I never eat it. I never wanted it, you know, and now that I know about sugar, but now my sister, I think she puts like ginger in it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it makes
that's a nice little note in there. I love ginger in there.
Yeah, but I don't understand why it has those marshmallows.
But they still had them up. Sienna. We've gotten to a maple syrup, ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, vanilla, and butter flavor. That's my mom's evolution of the candy yam that we have these days. So it's like
we need to have a bake off episode.
My grandma still put, brown sugar and the king syrup and all that good stuff in it. But that's grandma. We keep her
king syrup, like that's like the ghetto.
I'm telling you, like king syrup with a little bit of butter though. I could never even as a kid eat it straight. But if I melted butter in it, it was good. Did they have it in New York?
Yes, we have that. We have.
Oh, but I haven't seen king syrup here since I moved it. Where do you get it from?
I mean, you got to go up in the hood. Apparently, you haven't lived in the hood the way I have, so I'm gonna hook you up.
I'm saying this as if I'm going to actually eat king syrup now, but I still.
He's gonna read the label. It's gonna be like, oh my god, it's like 70% sugar. I'm not eating this.
But it'll be nostalgic to see the
definitely. So the last clip, we're just gonna play the last clip for you all to enjoy.
So sugar acts in the same part of your brain as sex and addictive drugs, the reward zone of your brain. So you eat sugar, you release dopamine, you feel happier.
It isn't just hunger that drives us to eat sugar. It's desire. That's why even when we're full, we still perk up when someone offers us dessert.
Isn't that funny? We have a special space for the indulgent taste at the end of a meal.
One study found that the reward zones of our brain only get activated when sweetness comes with calories. If you want the pleasure, you have to pay for it. The bitter truth is, we can't mimic sugar just leaving out the parts we don't like. So some people are taking a different approach, trying to reinvent the sugar crystal itself.
Now, that was a little bit sexual sounding, right?
It was. Well, like they say, it's interesting. Sugar is it's part of what they call the pleasure trap when we're talking about like this, how our brain, the pleasure centers in our brain. And just like stress, the body can't tell the difference between good and bad stress. It's the same way when we're talking about, stimulating pleasure, same concept.
Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of it's only rewarding to us if we need because of the calories,
right?
You understand? So if we don't, it's like the pleasure and the pain. We have to have both.
Oh, yeah.
And that to me is even more sexual. Like I'm like, they just like love equating sugar to some sex. Okay.
Well, that's actually life, right? That's the yin and yang of life. It all comes, the pleasure zones are a mix of yin and yang.
Yeah, but that's some things that they were saying is true. Like after I have a very salty meal, I do often want something sweet, even if I am full. I'll still take 2 bites.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like they say, because it's something about sugar that just gets you excited.
But they did dispel a lot of myths about sugar that some people on this podcast have said.
Hold on, the
That
cocaine.
Yes, that sugar is as addictive as cocaine.
It's actually more addictive than cocaine.
They said that it was not. Did you see the whole episode? I saw the episode and I see how you ain't pull that clip.
I feel like that data was a little skewed, so I didn't want to push that on our audience because we want to make sure we give you guys accurate information.
No, because they said, okay, as someone that's never even tried cocaine, neither of us. Okay, I've never even tried cocaine. All right, I'm too scared of drugs. I mean, I grew up in the hood, so I don't do that. All right, I'm too scared of selling my booty on the corner for $5, so that's why I don't do drugs. Crack hoe. I can't be no crack hoe. Oh my God!
Okay, your name is Bougie Betty. You would never be a crack hoe. You would be like a high-end escort. So you would not be on the corner for $5.
I don't think I can be any kind of escort. Like I can't like sell it. You understand? Like it's just not good. It doesn't go with my image. All right. So anyway, what I was saying, all right, when they talked about that, and when they brought up the scientists brought up a very good point. Have you ever remember when you were going through your sugar challenge? Have you ever had to deal with the withdrawal effects of a sugar detox? I have, and it's not easy. But they were just like, it does not mimic, or it's not harder to come off of sugar than it is cocaine. No, it does not.
Right. The withdrawal part is correct.
Yes.
But the addiction in your brain, that's a whole different conversation.
You a brainologist? Or what's that called?
Brain
You are so crazy. This is why we can't take you nowhere. All right. No, that's what they were saying. They said that because the withdrawal, coming off of it, is hard. I have been in like not had sugar in my life.
And you had the sweats, you had the shakes, right?
Not sweats and shakes. Yeah, you got to take it. It was hard for me. Like,
I'm serious. I know
it was very crazy. Like I was not like my pleasant self making jokes. All right. Like my other side is my other side. Okay. And I was like, and my sister was like, I wish you would just eat an orange and shut up.
You when you kicked sugar, you didn't even have fruit sugar.
No, because I was doing this like infomercial and they had us on the In the Zone diet. So we could only do this in the box.
Got it.
And so like the first time, like, and like the orange was one of the snacks and an apple was one of the snacks, but I only got 1 or 2 I only got like one a day, 1 orange, 1 apple. So I couldn't like take it in the morning, then I won't have any. Like I was like, because my sugar palate was very high then,
Yeah.
It was before I met you, and you just like brought it down slowly. But it's good for me because I couldn't live like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll have to say, like, I from a child, I've never had a high sugar palate. Like I was a kid who liked tea with no sugar. Like so I've always been because for me sugar always killed my taste buds. So whenever I had sugar, I'd be like, I can't taste all of the other stuff. I know most people
they said that with sugar, how it fits on your taste bud. You guys have to watch this episode. It's really great.
Yeah.
And we want you to sponsor us. We like explained. We want to do explain what's about.
Okay. Any of the Netflix food series. I don't know. Do you watch Chef's Table?
No.
OMG. So Chef's Table is definitely one of my favorite. I mean, I know this is the explained episodes, but it is part of the Netflix package. one of my favorite series because it literally goes into like the story of chefs and their philosophies and how they came up with the concepts for their restaurants, and they interview really people with really interesting concepts and interesting stories, and yeah, people who literally, wanted to have the freshest ingredients, so started like, oh, I'm gonna grow my own food, but I don't want the ecosystem to have anything not natural in it. So by the time they were finished, it was literally like, oh, well, I'm growing stuff and things are overgrown. Let me get a goat to like cut back the grass. It's like, and so
Yes,
after that,
yes,
it's like,
yes.
oh, now we need to refertilize the soil. Let's get some chickens because chicken poop makes good pH in the soil. So let me get some chickens and do that. And so it's like this whole ecosystem, right?
Yes.
So by the time they're done, it's like your restaurant, you can literally source everything from
Definitely.
the backyard.
When I was growing basil in my house, I had so much basil. Like I was taking it to my mother's house, like we're gonna have to put basil on everything. Like, and it was from my arrow grow in my kitchen in Harlem. All right.
Yes, on the top of the refrigerator, not like some plot somewhere, right?
I was like, this is just so much basil.
Yeah.
You know? So I understand what you're saying. You know, I
Mhm.
understand how things can get out of control, you
Mhm.
know? And back to sugar, they talked about how it sits on your tongue, and then they talked about a new product that's coming out, that someone else discovered,
Mhm.
that allows you to take sugar, put it in another entity, and so it stretches you take a smaller amount and they change the sugar cube, right?
Mhm. Yeah, but the challenge with that item was that once it hit water, it separated. So like it only worked in its like dry form. So if you were talking about baking or something with it, it wasn't gonna work. But if you were gonna like sprinkle it on like maybe like I guess what's that creme brulee kind of feel where you're like putting it on the top and then using it like that. It could be something that you could use like that. But and then I'm thinking maybe not, because would the heat also have the same effect as the water? I don't know, but they're still very new there. They're still trying to figure it out.
But the whole episode on sugar, I think, was very helpful for people to see, one, what sugar does to you, the different types of sugar.
Mhm.
Even if you only watch it and you see all three-fourths of the food that we eat has sugar in it. That's it. It'll change your life.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think about it. And maybe we should do maybe sometime in the new year we'll do like a sugar challenge where we
That's really a challenge for me. Hold
it
up, hold up, hold up.
is. It is.
Hold
And
up.
maybe it's just like 7 days, right? Maybe we don't go, well, maybe we're not aggressive with it. Maybe we're just like,
Wait, but can we have fruit?
oh yeah, no added sugar.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I don't believe in a life without fruit. That sounds crazy.
I mean, when it's mango season, she go
I mean,
crazy.
I'm going through cases of it in like a week. There's no way I can live without
That's the
mango.
best gift I ever got you. Last thing, best gift I ever got you was what?
The case of mangoes, the teacup. You got me lots of good gifts. The
But
teacups,
the best one was what? The case of mangoes.
case of
It
mango.
wasn't even a gift. I just got it from Fresh Direct for her, so she's so in Fresh Direct.
And they were champagne mangoes. They were so good.
See, so you love sugar too. So as we said, everyone should watch this episode and let us know what you think in the comments and subscribe to the Easy Answer podcast. Okay?
Yes, that's just
That's
and comment and let us know if you watch Explain. Let us know if there's an episode of Explain that you want us to dissect and give our Easy Answer podcast commentary around. We'll be happy to put it into rotation. All right, guys, until next time, remember to be easy. Later.